Right, guys, let's do another example of these hyperbolas because it's such a cool method that I'm going to do another one. Then I want to show you something else. Let's have a look at this. Let's make up one here. We've got y is equal to, let's have a look at this. We're going to go negative 2 over, now this time I'm going to go x minus 1, and then we're going to plus 2. Okay, now in other words, what we do now is we know it's a hyperbola. What I do is I establish my asymptotes, and then I know what the shift will be. Well, this guy here, y equals 2, is going to be my horizontal asymptote. But more important, in other words, what you're going to do is you're going to shift the y values 2 up. Okay, that's important, that concept there. With this guy, if you put him equal to 0, where it's undefined, you get x is equal to 1. And that tells me my vertical asymptote, but what it tells me is that you shift the x values 1 to the right. In other words, you adding 1. Okay, you shift the x values to the right, you're adding 1. Now, if we take our basic graph, now notice that I'm going to pick some x values. I'm going to choose minus 2, minus 1, 1, and 2. And then I'm going to pick negative 2 over x. That's my old values. Then we're going to get our new x's and our new y values. Okay, now watch this. And there's going to be 4 of them there. Okay, now, if you look at this, minus 2 divided by minus 2 is 1. Minus 2 over minus 1 is 2. Minus 2 over 1 is minus 2. And minus 2 over 2 is going to be minus 1. Now, this says shift the x values 1 right. So to these guys, we've got to go 1 right. We've got to add 1. So we're adding 1 to all of those. Okay, we add 1. Now, 1, or in other words, minus 2 plus 1 is going to be minus 1. There's your new value. 1 minus 1 is 0, or 1 plus 1 is 2, or you could say minus 1 plus 1 is 0, and 2 plus 1 is 3. There's the new x's. And to the y's, we've got to shift them up. So we're adding 2 to all the y values. Look at that. We're adding 2. So 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 2 is 4, minus 2 plus 2 is 0, and minus 1 plus 2 is 1. Okay, now these are the guys we use to sketch the graph. Now look at this. So what I do is I'm going to draw my little axes. There, I've got a vertical asymptote at 1. Here we go. And that little graph there is x equals 1. Okay, that line cuts at 1. And then the y values, the horizontal asymptote is at 2. So that's y equals 2. Okay, so we've got our vertical and our horizontal. But there's a shift of 1 unit right with the x's and a shift of 2 values up. So in other words, we start with these guys here. Now let's see. Minus 1. Okay, so go to minus 1 and then 1, 2, 3. So we plot our point there. There's minus 1, 3. 0, 4. So 0, 4 is there, about 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you've got 2, 0. So that went to the right, 1, 2. So it's 2, 0. And then you've got x's 1, 2, 3, and 1. Okay, there's 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1. Now look at this. You've got your little graph doing that, and you've got your graph doing that. And you've got it perfectly accurately, and you can write those coordinates in there as well. You've got 0, 4. You can put all the others in, and you've got it brilliantly. So you start with the graph minus 2 over x, and then you look at the asymptotes, and they tell you how to shift, what to add or subtract to the x's and the y's. Okay, just one other thing that they could do to you guys is they give you the picture and say, what's the equation? Well, very simple. Okay, very simply, how do we do it? Well, we've got a point there, which is an x and a y. We've got a vertical asymptote and a horizontal one, and they've given us this equation. So how do we do that? Well, let's see. If you look at this, your vertical asymptote was given as minus 1. There was a shift left. But now we want to get it back to there. So all I do is I bring it across the minus 1. And all you now need to do is let it fit into its place over there. So you take that vertical asymptote and plug it in and bring that minus 1 across. You see, if you put that equal to 0 and then you solved, you'd get your vertical asymptote, which is minus, it's minus 1, so you're shifting 1 left, you're subtracting from the x's, you see. Now that's great. Now what about the horizontal? What about the value of q there? Well, the horizontal asymptote was y equals 1. Okay, and that is what our Q value is. In other words, you bring it down into its place there. Okay, now all we need to do is get the value of A. Okay, how do we do that? Well, we've got that points minus 3, 2 on the line, and there we go. So what we then do is we can then plot in, we can bring in the x into minus 3 there, minus 3 into x, and 2 pops into there. Okay, and now we just have to solve. So what does that give us? Well, okay, minus 3 plus 2 is minus 3 plus 1 is minus 2, and if you bring the 1 across, 2 minus 1 is going to give you 1. Multiply both sides, and there you have the value of A. So you then are in a position to work out the graph, and here we go. A is equal to minus 2, y is equal to that, and you put it back, and you've got it. Now, guys, stick to this method I'm showing you of sketching not only the parabolas, but the hyperbolas and the exponentials. Stick to it and stay with us, and we'll see you around on Matrics Uploaded. Take care, guys.